to the World Storytelling Cafe, and it is Friday, so it is stories for children. Children of any age, that is, whether they're children just in the cradle or they've or they're long white haired and bearded. And of course Louis. Hello, Louis.
Hey,
Um,
Louis.
so today we have all the way from Austin in Texas, USA, the indefatigable, the amazing, the wonderful. What's his name?
Oh, give me a break.
David Thompson. David, take it away. That's
All
all yours.
right, all right.
It's all
Well,
yours.
hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. I am so glad to see you. I am so glad to welcome you into this, my home here in Austin, Texas. I don't normally speak this way, but I thought maybe y'all would like to hear some stories with the Texan accent. So you come in, you set a while, you set a spell, and let's get going because I'm going to need y'all's help sometime of this, so you're going to have to pay attention. Have to pay attention. First story I'm going to tell you today is from Texas itself, and it has to deal with a real person. That real person's name was Bigfoot Wallace. Now, why he was called Bigfoot Wallace, I'm not quite certain, but I do know that he was one of the heroes of the Battle of the Alamo. Now, the Battle of the Alamo was one of those battles where Texas was trying to get independent from Mexico. And there weren't many people who survived, but Bigfoot Wallace and some of his Mexican friends did, and they escaped and they went out west to Texas. Now, Texas is a real big state. It's real big, I tell you right now. So you're going to have to realize that this is in the west part of Texas, but you always see in those Western movies. So here we go. This is Bigfoot Wallace and the hickory nuts. Oh, you do know what a hickory nut is, don't you? Oh, maybe you don't. I don't know. But it is a good tasting nut. The only problem is its shell is so hard, you got to sometimes use a hammer to crack it. But I tell you, it's really good eating. So this here is Bigfoot Wallace and the hickory nuts. Now, a Bigfoot Wallace and his wife had moved out west in Texas, and they started a horse farm. And everybody from all around loved Bigfoot's horses. They thought they was the best horses they done ever seen in all their whole lives. I tell you right now, there were people from as far away as Waco who came out to see them. And people were really happy. Now, Bigfoot also had his own horse that he kept in a separate place away from the horses that he was raising and selling. So that's real important also to remember. Bigfoot, all right, he was doing fine. His wife was doing fine. The horses were doing fine. They were making lots of money. Everybody was happy. And then one night, after all the horses had been taken care of, and Bigfoot and his wife went to sleep, there was something that done happened. You got to realize that in this area where the Comanche Indians, and one thing about the Comanches is that when you were going to become a man, you had to go and steal horses. And that was part of their things they had to do. So here's Bigfoot and his wife just sleeping away. And all of a sudden, he heard ruffling and shuffling and whinnying and neighing and all sorts of noises. And he got up and he looked out the window. And what do you think he done saw? He saw some Comanche Indians stealing his horses, those horses that he raised. And he went, oh, my word, I got to go get them. I got to go get them back. So what he did was he got out of bed. He put on his pants. He put on his shoes. He took off his nightshirt and put on a shirt and a coat because it was cold. And he went out and he got the horse that was his, that was kept in the separate place behind his house. And they went, and his wife said, hey, Bigfoot, what you doing? Said, honey, they done come and stole my horses. I got to go get them back. Well, you better be careful. He said, I will. So he gets up on his horse and he starts tracking them because you could see where all the hoof prints were in the snow and all the hoof prints were in the dirt. and he started tracking them. And he went on and on and on. And finally, when dawn started rising over the horizon, he could see in the distance a pillar of smoke arising. And he knew that's where they was, and he knew that's where those horses were. So he went real carefully. He got off the horse and he led it real quiet like. And they got into a big grove of hickory nut trees. And they peeked, the horse did too. They peeked and they saw there was those Indians with all their horses and all of his horses, because they done been stolen. Thing about it is one of the horses had been killed and was being roasted for them to have something to eat. And he was like, oh, well, there I got other horses I can take care of, but what am I going to do? How am I going to get these horses back from all of these Indians? And he had a thought. So what he did was he got some twine from his saddle and he tied it around the cuffs of his long sleeves, and he tucked his shirt inside his pants, and he tied the twine around the cuffs of his pants, and he picked up hickory nuts one after another and just stuffed them all down his pants, stuffed them all down his sleeves, stuffed them all down up into his shirt. So he was like this. He was a real big hoopy duper. He was like, yo, he could barely walk. He had to waddle like a duck. And he started going, ooh, ooh, ooh. And those Comanches looked up and they saw this thing coming at them. And they said, oh, my word. So they pulled out their bows and their arrows. Bing, 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 bing. And those arrows went, and he just kept on coming. He kept on. And sure enough, those Comanches thought, oh, this is some strange desert creature. We better run. So they done run. They left. And Bigfoot, he just laughed. He started pulling out those arrows from where they done hit him. Boom, ding, choop, 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 choop. And he untied the cuffs of his shirt, and he untied the cuffs of his pants, and he pulled out the shirt tail, and all of those hickory nuts done fall out upon the ground. And what do you think? Those arrows had cracked those nuts and cut them in half. And he looked down and he says, well, I could gather these up and take them back, and my horses and hogs would have some good food to eat. And he looked over at the poor horse that had been roasted. He says, well, I'm going to have to bury you. So he did. And he took the horse's skin and he had gathered up all of those hickory nuts that had been split and shelled, and he put them in there and he tied them up. He got all of the horses, and he got the Comanches' horses too. He got a deal out of this. And he led them all the way back to his ranch. He put them all into the corral. He made certain his horse, his own precious horse, had something to drink and something to eat, and put him in his stable. He shook out that horse skin with all the nuts, and the horses were, and he gave some to the pigs, and they were, and he got him all cleaned up, and he went into the house, took off his boots, took off his shirt, took off his pants, put on some more trousers. His wife got up and said, honey, did you get those horses back? And he said, I sure did. I got those horses and I got something extra. And they just looked and they went, Lord, you never mess with the horseman, I tell you right now. And that is the story of Bigfoot Wallace and the hickory nuts. Now, the next story I'm going to tell you comes from the Lakota Nation. Now, the Lakota are an Indian or First Nations, as they say in Canada, up around the border. And they were just really lovely people. They were part of the Sioux Confederacy, which was a group of people who got together to take care of each other and do some trading and stuff like that. And this is the story of White Buffalo Woman and her brothers. Some of you who've been to Marrakesh may have heard me tell this, but I'm going to tell it again, because every time you tell it, it changes just a little bit. There was once a village, and in this village of the Lakota, there was this beautiful, beautiful woman. And she was just downright gorgeous, I tell you, just downright slap your mama gorgeous. And she was known for her bead work. She would do all the beading on the clothes, and her all of the skins that were brought to her that she got ready to make sure that they were ready to make into clothes. They were so clean, they were as white as snow. So you had this white snow buffalo shirt or trousers and all this beautiful beading that she sewed by herself. And they were, oh, they were just prizes, prizes, prizes. And everybody in the village was so happy. Some of the young men in the village come around and ask her to marry him. And she would always say no. Always say no, I'm too busy. So that went on for quite some time. And soon it was the fact that nobody in the village would come and ask to be her husband. And some of the other villages in the Comanche Confederacy, some of the men saw what she done, and they came over and they asked her to marry. And she kept saying no, no, no. So this went on for a while. And finally to the point where her parents said, honey, White Buffalo, you got to make a choice. You're going to have to get married, or as much as it hurts us, you're going to have to leave and find your own place. So what do you done think she did? She got her stuff together. She got her beads together, and she went and she left. And she started walking, walking, walking. She had a trapdoor behind her. That's one of those sleds that you pull, and all of her stuff was on there, her beads and the animal skins that she was working on. And she would pass through different villages and stop for a while because they loved what she did. And she taught some of the young ladies there how to do the beadwork, but they knew that they could never do as pretty as a beadwork as hers. So she went on, and some of the men in those villages, I tell you, they asked her to marry him. But she said, no, I have to go. I have to go. So she went on, and she kept on walking, and she kept going through the different villages. And she kept trading out her beadwork and her skin clothing, and always refused to marry anybody. Well, she kept on walking until one day she done come up a hill, and there she saw in the near distance a beautiful, beautiful white teepee. You know those teepees? And on those teepees were 6 handprints, like they done dipped them in some paint or something and put their handprints on it. So there were 6 of them. And she thought to herself, I wonder who these people are. 6 handprints. And it was at that time this young man walked out, and he was young and he was really handsome. And he said, oh, we have been waiting for you. Come on and be part of our family. And White Buffalo woman agreed. She knew she wouldn't have to marry him if they were part of her family. And they adopted her, and they said, we are your brothers, and we will take care of you. And so it was. She stayed with the 6 brothers. And her beadwork and her work with the skins, she made them the most beautiful outfits you've ever seen in all your whole life. Well, word got out, and there it was. The chief of the buffalo themselves comes snorting up to the teepee. And he says, hey, I like what you done do. I want you to marry me now. The White Buffalo woman said, no, I got my brothers to take care of. Well, I don't care. You gonna marry? Nope. No. Well, the chief of the buffalo said, well, you either marry us or I'll bring the entire Buffalo Nation down here and we're gonna take you by force. Well, White Buffalo woman looked at him. The six brothers looked at him. They looked at each other. White buffalo woman said, no, no. So the chief of the buffalo tribe went back and said, I'll return with my people. And so it was. 1 day passed, nothing. 2 days passed, still nothing. And then on that third day, you could feel the ground started to shake. And it was shaking, and the teepee they was living in was shaking, and they knew right then and there that the chief of the buffalo was bringing all of his people to come and take White Buffalo Woman. And White Buffalo Woman looked at her brothers and said, we have to leave. We have to get out of here because they'll trample us flat. So they left. The youngest one, the one who had greeted her the first time, he said, you go. I got my arrows and I'll take care of them. No, honey, you come with us. I said, I got to do something so y'all can escape. So he pulls out his arrows, bling, 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 one after another, and it stopped some of the buffalo, because who was this to tell them that they couldn't have what they wanted? Who was this to tell them that these arrows would keep them from going? And they kept on going, and the ground began to rumble, and it began to move up and down, and they started running. The six brothers and White Buffalo Woman just started running, and they were getting closer and closer, and they were running, and there was this huge tree, and they said, we're going to climb that tree, come on. And the youngest one said, y'all go on, I'll keep my arrows going so y'all can escape. And that's what he did. And what he did, they said, come on, you can come up. Come on, we got to get out of here. We can't lose you. Come on. And they reached down and they grabbed that young boy and they pulled him up into the tree. And they kept climbing higher and higher and higher. And the buffalo got there. And that tree began to shake and sway and shake and sway, and the brothers and the White Buffalo Woman kept climbing higher and higher and higher and higher until they got to the very top, and it was above the clouds. They got out of the tree and they was able to stand on the clouds just as that tree went. And they were caught. They were caught way up in the air, way up above the sky, way up above the cloud. And that's where they are to this very day. And that's where they are. And they became the 7 stars in the sky, what the white people call the Pleiades. But we all know that it's White Buffalo Woman and her 6 brothers, and they defeated the chief of the Buffalo tribe. And that's a story from the Lakota people. Lovely people, lovely people, lovely stories. Now I got 2 more stories for you, and I may have another one because I'm looking at the time and I'm telling them shorter than I thought. And these next 2 stories, I'm going to need y'all's help. So you might want to unmute yourself, because this is a call and response. I need your help on this one. These 2 stories I'm going to tell you right now come from Mesoamerica. Now, Mesoamerica is that area below the United States, Mexico, Central America, South America, that whole area down there. And you may have heard of some of the people who lived there. You may have heard of the Aztecs. You may have heard of the Inca. You may have heard of even the Maya. But I got one here from a group you may not have heard of, and it was the Mixtec. And the Mixtec has some lovely stories. This is the story of Bat and the Rainbow. So there he was. Poor little bat. all gray and brown and leathery wings and a small head. And he was, well, they just downright ugly. You've heard of being hit with the ugly stick? Well, I think the whole tree done fell on him. And he was so sad because no one liked him because he was ugly. And he was just, oh, he would cry and cry, come and be my friend. We're not going to be your friend. You're just ugly, downright ugly. Oh, poor baby. So he flew way up. He flew way on up until he came in front of Creator himself. And he told Creator all the horrible, sad stories of nobody would be his friend. Nobody would like him. They always called him ugly. And he didn't know what to do. And he was just crying away because bats were good at that. And Creator went, what can I do? What can I do? I know. So what do you think Creator done did? He reached down and he plucked a feather from every bird on the earth. He got the pink from the flamingo. He got the green from the quetzal birds. He got the blues from the macaws and the toucans and the yellows from all the other birds and the finches and the canaries, and he even got gray and brown and white from the owls and the eagles and the hawks, and he stuck them all over Bat. And Bat looked at himself and, ooh, honey, he was nice looking. And he thanked Creator. But what do you think Bat done did? He flew up. He flew back and forth. And, oh, look at me. Look at me. I'm so beautiful. I'm so lovely. You've never seen anything as beautiful as me. And he even flew across the sky. And when he flew across the sky, there was this trail of beautiful colors that went behind him like an arc. And that is the first rainbow. Well, what do you think? The birds themselves who were on the earth, they were all like, huh! They were so angry they forgot to sing. They forgot to crow. They forgot to screech. And as though he had stolen their song. So all the birds got together and they started talking about what they could do. So y'all be the birds. Come on, talk about what you think they can do. Come on, I want to hear it. I want to hear it. But unmute yourself. Talk about it. What do you think those birds are saying? Oh, come on, people. You know you want to be part of this here story.
Show him.
We could pluck the feathers with the beak.
Show him. We're going to show him. We're going to show him.
And then the great macaw himself stopped everybody from talking and said, I will go up to Creator. I will go up and tell him exactly what's going on down here. So he went flying higher and higher. And he got there and he approached Creator and says, look, this bat that you gave feathers to has stolen our songs, has stolen our screeches. We just don't know what to do. You've got to do something about this. So Creator thought, And he thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And he started to create rain. And every time the raindrops fell, and they fell on Bat, a feather fall slowly down to earth, and another feather. Oh, there goes the yellow one. There goes the green one. There goes the pink one. There goes the blue. And there goes the red one. Until the point where Bat was back to where he was, brown and gray with leathery wings. And he was so ashamed of what he done did. He flew down and went into a cave. And that is why, to this day, bats only come out at night. But that's also why the next time you see a rainbow, you can thank Bat. because he created that rainbow. Excuse me while I wet my whistle.
What's the bridge in Austin that has all the bats under it?
South Congress Bridge. Over 2 million Mexican free-tailed bats reside under there. And at night, people will go down and watch the huge flock of bats just fly out. It's become a big tourist attraction, I tell you that. So, got another story for you. Now, this story, it comes from the Inca. Now, the Inca were in South America, and they were very, very civilized. And they had a lot of great stories. And this story is to why the armadillo has wrinkled skin. Now, y'all know what an armadillo is, don't you? You may have seen pictures of them. Okay, good. But be careful don't touch them, because some of them carry leprosy. Oh, that's what I've been told, but I think it's just a talk.
It's a cousin to a legadillo.
It's just a talk. So anyway, why armadillo has wrinkled skin? And this is from the Inca. Inca, who is the supreme creator, Inca decided to have a beautiful, wonderful, wonderful party for all of his people and all of his animals that lived on the earth. He wanted to appreciate them. And he told them that he was going to have this party and they should show up in their absolute best outfits. And oh, the animals and the people were just happy, happy, happy. And they would say, what can I wear? What can I make? What can we do? What can we do? What can I do? What can I do? So Armadillo decided that he was going to be the best looking one. So he started weaving and knitting and weaving. I'm going to be so pretty. Everybody's going to be jealous, jealous, jealous. And he just kept on and on and on. And so it happens. As you know, life happens. Armadillo put his work aside because he had other things he had to do. And he forgot about the party that Inca was going to have. And then it was. He was sitting out in front of his house, Armadillo was. Jaguar walks by and says, oh, Armadillo, how you doing? I'm doing quite fine. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Are you ready for the party tonight? Tonight? Oh, I forgot all about it. It's going to be tonight. Oh, no, I better get busy. So he pulled out what he'd done, what he had woven and what he had sewn and what he had knitted. And he had to, I can put this here and I'll have to wrinkle this up here and tie this around here. And I'm going to be so nice. I think I'm going to be nice. I think everybody will like what I'm wearing. The party happened. Oh, the leopard was gorgeous. The toucan with his beautiful beak was just beyond description. The flamencos strutted around in their pink outfits. The quetzals in their green and blue long feathers were having a good time talking. And then Armadillo showed up. And here he was, all gray, all wrinkled. And all the other animals made fun of him. Oh, look at him. Did you see him? Did you see what he was wearing? What do you think? Oh, that is an insult to the creator himself. Oh, we just can't be with you. Go away, go away, go away. Well, poor Armadillo. Poor Armadillo. Oh, he was so embarrassed that he left the party and he burrowed down into the ground. And that is why you don't see armadillos during the daytime. They come out at night because they're still ashamed of the way they look. And that is why the armadillo has wrinkled skin. Gee, I didn't realize my stories were that short. I got some more time. I got to pull one out the top of my head. Let me see. What can I pull out? Okay, let's do this one. Let's do this here story. This is the story of Curly Joe Moskowitz, the last of the Jewish cowboys. Jewish cowboys. Yeah, they were Jewish cowboys. And Curly Joe was one of the best cowboys you ever seen. A nice man. And they had cattle drives, and he liked to work on those cattle drives. But this is the last cattle drive that ever happened from Texas all the way up to Chicago. And there was Curly Joe. He was a friend of mine. You know that. I wouldn't lie to you. Curly Joe's a friend of mine. And they would ride along, and I would ride along beside Curly Joe. And I'd ask him about, oh, why do you wear that little hat on the back of your head, under your hat? And Curly Joe would explain to me about how people are supposed to have their head covered in the presence of God. And I thought about, well, that's something. Maybe I should start wearing my hat to church. But anyway, they kept on, and at night, they would all sit around the campfire. And Curly Joe would cook his own food. He wouldn't eat with what everybody else was eating. He would cook his own food. And I asked him, says, Curly Joe, why do you cook your own food? And Curly Joe said, well, it's because God said to. I can't do this type of food with this type of food. So I brought my own. And it's okay. I can drink coffee with you. We can have a good conversation of coffee. And so he did. And that was fine. He explained. And over on Friday nights, when they would sit around, Curly Joe would go off by himself. And you could hear him singing. And you could watch him standing, rocking back and forth. I figured he was praying. I never asked him about that, but it sounded like that was going to happen. And now Curly Joe, oh, he was great. He would rescue calves that got loose. He would get everybody together, and they would sing and dance all the way up on the trail, because those long cattle drives are a long, long story. Long drive, long trip. And they kept going on, and they kept going on. And they finally got to Chicago, which is up north of here. And all the cows were taken away. All the bulls were taken away. The calves were taken away. And Curly Joe said, well, I'm going to get paid. Well, what you going to do with your money, Curly Joe? He says, I'm going to get married. You're going to get married? I did. He said, yeah, her name is Amy Sue Moskowitz. The Moskowitz, who live here in Chicago. So they got to get married. And you are all invited to my wedding. I'll tell you that. So all of us we took a bath, because we hadn't had a bath in 2 weeks. We took a bath. We cleaned off our clothes. We polished up our silver. We didn't take our guns. We had to check our guns. And we went to this wedding. And oh, I tell you, it was so pretty. So lovely and so pretty. And we danced. Oh, mercy, these people could dance. And we lifted them up in these chairs, danced around with the chairs. Hoopah, hoopah. And everybody was happy. Everybody was having a grand old time. And finally, that wedding was over. And we all said goodbye to Curly Joe. We all gave his new bride a kiss on the cheek. We all gave them something for themselves, for their house. We had to be careful for what we gave them, but we gave it to them. And that's the last I saw Curly Joe, though I did get some letters from him. They moved back down to Texas. They had their own little farm. And sometimes I would go by and visit them, and they was happy, and they was just so much fun. So that's about Curly Joe Moskowitz and the last of the Jewish cowboys.
Fantastic.
And that's the stories I have prepared. And I know we've got some
No,
time.
no,
So
David, it's been a joy.
thank
It
you.
has been a joy. Thank you. And so, I mean, what we just went. I felt like I was back in Texas then.
Well, you're always welcome. Oh, everybody who's listening, if you're ever in Austin, y'all come over and set a spell, have some coffee. Maybe we can share some stories.
I will get back there one day. So
Thank you all. Thank you
that
for
was
allowing me to
wonderful,
dust
David.
off my
David,
ability to
you
tell.
and I, David, you and
Yeah.
I sitting around some
Okay, well, where are we?
coffee. Whoa.
I
So,
see people I know.
mhm.
I'm so glad y'all are here. You can share this time with me. I'm pulling through my
Let-
head
let-
about maybe one more story I could tell, so we're not just sitting around gabbing.
Well, give us a story. If you got one more story,
I'm gonna see. I mean, maybe think. Y'all talk amongst yourselves. I'm gonna think about
while
this
you're
for a second.
thinking, David, I'm just gonna announce what's coming up.
Okay.
So I give you time to think. Next Friday, we've got Simona Stambisi, which will be a treat. And then, but before that, we've got Tuesday, we've got our young international tellers. And on Thursday, we have a fantastic, you can't join it on Zoom, but you can watch it live. We've got our stories from Marrakesh coming from the folk of Gloucester Museum. But she's just 2 days before the gathering. Got 10 storytellers there, including someone I see here, Alistair K. Daniel.
Hey, Alistair.
So
I do have a story. So
I'll continue these announcements after this wonderful story, this amazing story, this fantastic story that is coming from David as his finale.
all
Go
right,
for it,
everybody. Now I am from the Appalachian areas, and the Appalachians are ancient mountains in the east. And there are a lot of stories about them. And this is one of the stories that I've loved, and some of you may have heard it before. And I'm going to be telling it in accent also, so you're going to have to listen real carefully, I think. This is the story of the pudding that stopped the preaching. Now, I'm going to tell you this here story about the McCollar family. You got Essie Mae, the mother. You got James, the father. You got Rufus, the son, and you got Sarah Bell, the daughter. And they was up in the back hills in the Appalachians, and everybody was just really happy about them. They were so nice people. Well, it turns out that the two Seed in the Spirit Fire Baptized Predestinarian Baptists, the Dove Spring Hallelujah Praise Jesus Church, and the twice baptized Methodists got together, and they decided to get together, and they were going to have what's called dinner on the ground, where everybody in these churches got together, and they brought food, and there was all day preachings, and Miss Essie Mae was just all beside herself. She was going to make the best pudding that anyone had ever had. She got all her stuff together, got that big black kettle, and she put it over the fire in the kitchen, and she added eggs, and she added wheat, and she added sugar, and she added honey, and she added fruit, and she was cooking. It's going to be one of those that has to cook on a slow all night. Well, she was up getting her hair all put up into spit curls and everything to get herself all pretty, and she forgot that she had not put any salt in the pudding. So she called down, Sarah Bell, what, Mama? What you want? Honey, I forgot to put salt in the pudding. Would you go down and do that for me? But Mama, I got my hands all covered with axle grease because the widow woman who lives down the road said if we get rid of these warts, I have to wait until I see the full moon over my left shoulder before I can wash it off, and my hands all greasy. Girl, I'm your mama. You go down and you put some salt in that there pudding. Yes, ma'am. Well, she was still doing her hair. Miss Essie Mae was still doing her hair. She didn't hear anything. She didn't hear Sarah Bell doing anything. So she called out, Rufus! Hey, Rufus, what you want, Ma? Would you go put some salt in the pudding? Ma, I don't know about I said, you listen to your mama. You go and you put some salt in that pudding now. Yes, ma'am. So he went and he said, well, I don't know how much pudding. That's a big kettle and lots of pudding. So probably needs lots of salt. So he gets this big old spoon and he giggles in the salt and he puts it in, he stirs it around and he taps it and he puts it in some water to clean it off. And he did what he did. Well, she didn't know that he did it either because she didn't hear anything. So she called her husband, honey, yeah, what you want? I don't know if these kids done been listening to me, but you go and put some salt in that pudding. Honey, you know I don't cook worth damn. Well, let me tell you, just go and you put some salt in the pudding and it'll be all right. And we'll have a good pudding. So he did. And he got a big old scoop of salt and he put it in there and he stirred it around and he tapped it and he put it in some water to keep it clean and put the top on, and everybody went to bed that night. Well, the next morning, that's when the dinner on the ground was going to happen with the all-day preachings. They got the buckboard with their horses, and they put that big old kettle on the back of the buckboard, and they took off towards where that dinner on the ground with all-day preachings was going to happen. And I tell you, it was an event and a half. There were so many people there. There was preachings and there was testifyings. Oh, hallelujah. There was praisings and there was baptizings and there was even holy dancing. And the widow Jenkins got so turned away with that holy dancing, she fell on her floor and her dress pulled up, and the church ladies went over and pulled her dress down so she could be modest in the Lord. And they went on, and everybody was just having a grand old time singing. And then it was lunch. Well, the whole church done emptied, and out in front were these long boards with all of this food, and it was just a groaning board. That wasn't like this. It was so much food. It was bending down in the middle, and there was fried chicken, and there was cornbread, and there was stewed greens, and there was crackly fried, all this good crackly food. And then there was even somebody got real fancy and made a gelatin salad, but people weren't so certain about gelatin salad. And everybody was having a good time. The people was eating, and the children was running around screaming and eating too much and dropping food everywhere, because you know how kids are. And then came the big event. There was going to be the judging of the best pudding ever made. So here come the three judges, who are actually the three pastors of the three churches. They tasted one. No, what do you talking about? Okay. They tasted another. Then they got to Essie Mae's. Well, this looks interesting. Smells good. I wonder if it tastes as good as it smells. So they all got a bowl full, and they looked at it, and they held it up, and they smelled it. And each one took a spoonful, and oh goodness. Oh, mercy. This is very different. I don't think I ever heard or tasted anything like this. And then what do you think done happened? They had to call off the rest of the day because the three pastors who were in charge of this whole thing Their mouths were so puckered from all the salt and so dry that they couldn't continue. So everybody said goodbye to everybody. They picked up all the food that was left and they just took right on off. So the colored people got back to their house and they was concerned. What happened? What happened? What was this? Your pudding stopped the preaching. Why is that? Well, I don't know. Maybe we should all taste some. So they all got a little bit. They smelled it. Smelled okay. They looked at it. There's nothing in there but pudding. No ashes and no bugs. And they all got a spoonful. And they tasted it. And they spit it right out. And all of a sudden, all four of them just started laughing and laughing and laughing because her pudding was the pudding that stopped the preaching. That's it.
Louis, did you like David? Louis frozen, I think. So
I liked it.
Thank
yeah,
you.
well, we had two of Lucy up for,
Yeah, my double. Hi, Louis. Hi.
you sound like you're in the bottom of a well at the moment. But you're fantastic. Well, that was brilliant, David. So let's see what's coming up now. Hello, Louis. So Tuesday, we have our Young International Tellers. Thursday, we're broadcasting. You can't join us on Zoom, but we're broadcasting live our benefit concert for the Henna Cafe Kitchen, soup kitchen, which on Lucy's last update was providing 600 meals.
Today was 800 meals.
So today was 800 meals.
800 today, yeah.
Fantastic. That's all downstairs from where Waleed is. What is it? Waleed's upstairs hiding. Yeah.
Yeah, still at the World Storytelling Cafe.
Yeah. So,
well, you want to mute Louis until his sound.
Louis muted. I don't know what's happening there. Let me just try participants. Right. Let me go into participants. Yeah, Louis muted. That's there's something happening there. So we've got Friday, Thursday, we've got 7:30, we've got the fundraiser for the Henna Cafe. That's coming live and direct from the folk in Gloucester. Alistair K. Daniel, the genius, is dealing with the technical side from our end. So I think it can all be done by remote control as long as he's got the as long as he's got the codes to do it with, which we will get during the week for him. And then on Friday we've got Simona Stambisi, and then on Sunday we've got the that's Sunday week. We've got the our worldwide story round for this month. So it's a kind of and sitting there in between. Alistair's running a small little event. I say he's running it all by himself. Of course, he has no help with this whatsoever. The Society for Storytelling Gathering, but and it's because of that we're able to get 10 tellers together for Thursday. Oh, fantastic. And thank you for all your help, Daniel, Alistair. And thank you, Waleed, as always, for flying the magic carpet. And thank you for getting that the stuff on about next Thursday up on the site so quickly. And for Daniel, for Alistair's benefit, it's up there. So fantastic. Meanwhile, farewell from me in Gloucester, David in Austin, Texas, and the rest of you wherever you are. Baba C, you're Baba C in Washington DC, Louis in Stanford, Lucy in virtual reality, and
I'm driving.
and Waleed in and the rest of you wherever you are in this world. Goodbye.
Bye. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Everybody be fabulous.
Where are we?
You too.
Take care, everyone. Take care, cuz.
You better, Baba C, or I'll have to come straighten you out.
I'd like to see you try doing that.
Oh no, because you might serve me some of that pudding.
I got my ways.
Hey, Lucy.
Oh, that's great. Bye. Bye, everybody. Yeah. How are you, Baba C? You've not
All right,
been
everybody
well.
take care.
Yeah. Yeah, take care. Are you okay?
I'm dealing with challenges, but I'm pushing through them. Things will get better. I got my fingers crossed.
Yeah. I see you've got Moroccan colours on. You've got the red,
yes.
red and the green
Yeah.
on the badge. Yeah.
And I've been reaching out, checking on folk I know in Morocco. Yeah. And you and Mike keep doing the good things you're doing there too.
Yeah, it's amazing how everybody's pulling together. Just incredible. We've had so many volunteers.
Yeah.
There's so many sad stories, but then you hear heroic stories as well. Zuhair Kazmawi has been going up into the mountains on a motorbike just to try and do like reconnaissance to see if it's possible to reach some of the villages that are completely isolated and some of them don't even have roads. But he and a group of them went up there. Quite risky and unpleasant because it's so dusty. They found it difficult to breathe. So we sent them masks and goggles for the next trip. But yeah, so he's doing well. So many people. We've had people from Casablanca coming down to work with us, and just loads of. I had a bloke who's offered us the American International Hospital, which is 28,000 square foot of brand new state-of-the-art building. He's offered that to us. Just as a very kind gesture, for us to use it for whatever we can. I mean, it's massive. So it's just trying to get people coordinated so that everyone can use the things that we're offered and that we don't duplicate or step on each other's toes, and everybody stays kind of calm and forgiving and just keeping an open heart. It's terrible and it's amazing, at the same time.
My friends and relatives have reached out to me because they knew I was in Marrakesh, and they've been asking me how things are going. So I've been telling them about that and telling them about the fundraiser, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So
and you know what?
Yeah. So right, it's go ahead.
Yeah, the very strange thing is the tourism board have said Morocco is open for tourists. And so we've got tourists who are coming in, and they're going to the Major El Gardens, and they're going to the Mosque Ben Youssef, and they're walking around in the souks. The souks are all open, and the square, everything's open. There's just a few monuments that fell down, but pretty much everything has been opened up, and it's like business as normal in Marrakesh, except where it isn't. But most, lots of tourists are still, two of our riads are full with people. And they want to come in and support tourism. And they can, it's you can still have a very nice time if you don't have relatives who've died, or you can still be there and just know that you're supporting the country, and everybody is donating money. Everyone who comes is trying to help, and so it's very surreal, really. Yeah. And we're still planning on having the festival in 2024.
I was in Marrakesh, I went to a school, and I hope to be there. But the last time I was at a school, and there was a young man came up, and I got him to help me tell a story. And we've been in contact with each other through Instagram and Gmail. And I reached out because I wanted to make sure he was okay. He says it's terrifying, but that he and his family were doing okay, and that but he appreciated me reaching out and checking on them. So I just reminded him that. I just told him, I said, my heart beats better knowing that you and your family are okay. Yeah. But sometimes just a simple hello, how are you, is what you can give, and what is well received.
Yeah, people just want to know that you care enough to check up on them. There's not many people who I know who've lost someone. Some of our staff members have now. Mohammed, who does maintenance for us, sadly, he lost two uncles in the earthquake. He'd lost his father earlier in the year from other causes, but he then lost two uncles this past week. So that's very sad. But I don't know anybody directly who has died. It's not somebody that I know, but everybody knows somebody who's like a friend or a relative.
Right.
So a lot.
Convey my condolences.
Yeah, sorry, I missed that. I'm just driving.
Oh, your mic holding up.
Yeah, and I think
Hey, you know what? We better let Waleed.
Yeah, sorry, Waleed needs to go home. Yeah, thank you, Waleed. Waleed's been working all day in the cafe.
Yeah.
He's been making these 800 or 900 meals, I think it was. It's 900,
Thank you,
Waleed,
Waleed,
right?
for everything you do. Whoa.
I think I'm getting a bit cut off now. I better let you go and let Waleed go as well. But lovely to speak to you. Take care.
Great speaking with you. Give Mike my regard. You too. Take care.
Okay.
Prayers be with you.
Bye. Bye, Waleed.
And